Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the Yes We Can podcast. Today, my guest, Dave Glover, is a beloved St. Louisan. He is the host of his own podcast called The Dave Glover Show and radio, right? Radio
Right.
and podcast.
Yes.
He is on today to share his story of turning pain into purpose. So can't wait for you guys to get to know him. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on.
Me too. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So tell us, I always introduce my guests and want them to give us just a background of who you are, where you're from, kind of start there.
Yeah, so I grew up on the east side in a little refinery town called South Roxana.
Okay.
That was literally across the tracks. Like, this is where people with not a lot of money and lots of alcohol problems lived. So that was interesting. And my family wasn't an academic family, and so I never had any thoughts of college or anything. And the day before I was going to go to work at the refinery, like everyone did, I got a call and I got a sports scholarship to college.
For what?
Track. And
Awesome.
Yeah. And so I'm like, yeah, why not? And then I took the LSAT to get into law school on a drunken bar bet. And I had a really bad GPA, but I kind of aced the test. So I ended up at WashU Law School just as a complete lark. Oh, yeah, you'll learn. I've never done anything on purpose. I just fall ass backwards into it.
That's hilarious.
And so I practiced law for 10 years, didn't like it. I started advertising my little law firm, and I got kind of involved in radio advertising. And Stephen DC, who used to be the big morning show back then, used to have me on, and one thing led to another. And in October 16th of 2000, I started my own radio show.
Love it.
Doing afternoon drive in a top 20 market, which no one had ever done. I'd never been on the air, and it just worked. And so I stopped being a lawyer and I started being a full-time radio guy. And 26 years later, here I am.
So funny. I have so many questions. And I want to point out here, a lot of people go to school for one thing and end up doing something else.
Yeah.
Totally okay.
Yeah.
Right? But it's like once you come into your calling, you're like, oh, this is my purpose.
Yeah.
Like this is what, I'm a believer. God gave me these gifts to spread the good news, right? So born and raised in a small town in Illinois. Any siblings?
Yes, an older sister, and she still lives in Illinois. And then my brother Keith I was the baby by a lot. My sister's 14 years older than me. My brother is 11 years older than me. And in 2002, my dad passed away with Alzheimer's. And 6 months later, my brother took his own life. So that was a rough year.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that was kind of the start of the grief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old was he?
49 years old, and I'm 61 now. So it's weird being much older than my older brother ever got to be.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Did he have a family?
No, my brother was always, he was odd. He was a lone wolf. And so he lived away from the family most of my life. And he'd come back and he'd visit, and he would be estranged from my family. But it was kind of beautiful that he and my dad especially didn't get along. My dad was World War II, hard hat Joe. My brother was child of the 60s, musician, and they just didn't see eye to eye. And when my dad got sick with Alzheimer's back in the late 90s, my brother was living in Tucson, Arizona, and he moved back into his little room in the little house where my mom and dad raised him and helped to take care of my dad. And they became like best friends.
I love that.
Yeah. So it was really something.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, it was. And my dad was a tough guy. He was not the easiest person to be raised by. And when he got Alzheimer's, he was the sweetest teddy bear in the world. So that's my memory of my dad.
I love that.
Thankfully.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting, Dave? I don't know if you feel the same way, but I feel like, and if my parents are listening, I love you so much. But I feel like all of a sudden in life, you get to a point where all of a sudden we are now taking care of our parents.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's this weird shift. Right?
Yeah.
And like now I'm concerned about my parents. I call and check in on them.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. And I actually lost my mom in 2013. So that's difficult too.
Yeah.
Right? It's just wild.
I have a couple friends. One of my best friends is going through it right now with her mom, and started in independent living and now assisted living, and just kind of the progression. And my friend doesn't have kids of her own, and I said, well, you know what it's like, because now you your mom is your child, and you worry the same, and you have the same stress, and you have to make sure everything's, So yeah, that was in 2002. Gosh, my daughter wasn't even born, and my son was like 7. And, my dad had Alzheimer's, and then he was gone, and my brother was gone, and my mom, who passed away 2 years ago, lived alone until she took a fall when she was 97. So she lived that whole time in that little house in South Roxana. Yeah.
All by yourself?
By herself.
Wow.
I would go over a couple times a week and, help, take care. But she just had no interest. She wanted to stay in that house by herself.
Oh,
yeah.
Good for her. And what was her name?
Frances.
So
Yeah, she was 4'6", 70 pounds.
Stop it.
Of pure fury. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. The day she had her surgery, so she fell, and they had to, even at 97 years old, they put a metal rod down her femur.
Wow.
And so there she is, like the size of a munchkin, laying in her hospital bed. And that day I actually said the words to her, "Stop being so mean to me," because she was just roasting me from her hospital bed. She was just, super smart, super funny, very cutting. Yeah.
It sounds like you guys had a good childhood.
It was complicated.
Yeah, well,
it was complicated. Like I grew up in that era where the kinds of things that happened in my house and around my house now would be considered child abuse.
I think a lot of people.
But, growing up in the 70s, like we not only took whippings from our parents, you take whippings from neighbors. Like if they saw you doing something you shouldn't be doing, they would just
the village steps in.
Right. Yeah.
How it used to be.
Yeah.
I know. Okay, so you go to high school. You're doing did you do any other sports?
Yeah, I kind of did them all.
Yeah.
Sports was my thing.
Yeah.
And music, lifelong drummer. I still play in a band now. And I was always a 100% creative. Like anything with words made sense to me. Anything with numbers, I was completely lost, and still to this day. And I just did a thing on my show last week where I said, I'm going to stand up for the word smart people because we don't get enough credit. Because when you think of smart people, at least for me, I think of mathematicians and scientists and things like this, but they need us too.
Yes.
They need the word smart people.
Of course.
Right? So, yeah.
Yeah.
So I've always been, whatever that is, left brain, right brain, I've always been 100% that, which was interesting to go through college, law school, 10 years of law practice. And then at the ripe old age of 36, end up getting this radio show. And then the last 26 years, I've done radio shows. I've done lots of television. I've done lots of stand-up, lots of band concerts. So for 26 years, I've just made my living as an entertainer, which I'm really proud of.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it kind of hit me just a couple years ago, like, oh, you're a professional entertainer. It's
I mean, you're well known here in St. Louis.
Yeah.
People love you. So I was super excited to have you on my show and hear about your story. So then I'm sorry, I'm like really a big sports gal. What did you run in track?
The shorter the pot, the better. I was a sprinter.
Okay.
And I had never done it before. I was always fast in sports. That was kind of my thing. And couldn't play baseball my senior year. And the track coach asked me to go out. And I was fast enough, even without any real training, to get some college attention. And, I didn't win much in college, but it was fun. It was great, just traveling around the team and racing these guys who went to the Olympics and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
And then I played sports.
What undergrad did you go to?
I went to SIUE.
Okay.
SIU Edwardsville.
Yeah.
And because it was just right by my house.
Yeah.
And I had grown up. I was a soccer player, and I had grown up
of course,
going over to SIU and watching the soccer guys. They were fantastic, national champs. And then my freshman year, some of those guys were seniors. So I'm in the locker room with these guys I've been watching for 4 years.
How awesome is that?
Yeah, it was pretty great.
And then you went to school and studied...
I didn't study much at all in college. And then when I got into WashU, which was a complete lark. And I remember my very first day of class being in this big theater of law students, and an admissions person walked in but because she had an announcement before the professor came in, and I literally picked up my books because I'm like, oh, here it is. They're going to figure out that they made a mistake. Like I really did. I picked up my books.
Dave,
and
please stand up. You are no longer.
Yeah, I started to stand up, and she made some announcement about something not involving me.
That's hilarious.
But that's how confident I am.
Good for you.
I knew they'd made a mistake.
That's a cool story, right? You get into law school. I mean, because, you're right. Not everybody is great at one thing or, and a lot of us do study something and then go into something else. So what kind of law did you practice?
So I came out, I was really fortunate in a fortuitous kind of way. I came out and went into a big firm, and my first day, like 50 lawyers, and they said, "You're single, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "How would you like to work in Alaska?" And so they had a piece of the Exxon Valdez case with the oil spill. And so for my first 3 years, I spent most of my time in Alaska working on the Exxon Valdez case.
What an awesome opportunity.
It was amazing. I lived in the Captain Cook Hotel with 50 other lawyers who were 26 years old.
You're kidding.
It was amazing. And then I came back to being a real lawyer, and I just didn't love it. I loved law school. The word smart thing. It was fun. It was intriguing. I did well.
Yeah.
But being a lawyer was just like doing homework every day for a living.
Yeah.
And lots of bickering with people.
Right.
And it's just like,
not your thing.
Not my thing.
So funny because I come from a family of attorneys as well. They all went to Creighton, which is why my family's based in Omaha. But I would go work in my dad's office, like shredding papers, cleaning, dusting. And I remember being like, I am not going to be an attorney. None of these people are smiling. They're just sitting at their desk all day.
Yeah.
No offense, Dad. You've had a great career and everybody else. But I'm like, nope, not my thing.
Yeah.
So I knew early on that was not going to be me.
Yeah. Had I spent one day shadowing an attorney, I would have never done it.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. I think like your senior year in high school should be all internships. Like you've learned what you're going to learn, right? If you haven't learned trigonometry by now, you're not going to learn trigonometry.
No, thanks.
Like go do a bunch of internships and
to see what you're.
Yeah.
Totally.
Do you like medical? Do you like social? Do you like working with your hands? That's like
true.
actual.
Right.
That would be good. That would give some people some real experience.
Well, I'm in the process of hiring an intern right now. I did internships, completely unpaid, by the way, back in the day.
Yeah, right?
Internships to kind of feel out what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so awesome. So you leave, you're no longer an attorney. Did you get married at that point? Had you met your wife?
Yeah, that would have been back in 2004.
Okay.
And then my daughter came along in 2005. And she's a senior at KU, and my son is a Mizzou guy. So we have that in the family. That's fun. And yeah, it's like I said, I'm 61 now. And when I talk to people who are in their 30s or 40s, the only advice I ever give them is like, just know this. It's such a cliche. And I heard it 1,000 times, and I never listened to it. But that core of your life, like that 25 or 30 years from your mid 20s to your mid 50s or 60s, it just goes by like that. It's just like a dream. And you remember it. It's like, oh, I remember this. But it's so compressed that it feels like a movie you saw. And just you look around one day and you're where you are. You're married, you're divorced, you've lost your spouse, you got fired. Like there's just no predicting life. Predicting life.
Exactly.
And all you can do is just ride it.
Right. And one day at a time, one step at a time, be grateful for every day because you don't know what's coming tomorrow. We were talking a little bit before the show just about, we've all got something. We've all been through things. And it's not if something happens to you in your life, it's when. That's not to scare people. It's just to, let's just live in reality and talk about it. We obviously, you and I are both talkers, but that's how you process, right? And so I do want to talk a little bit more about your brother, if you don't mind.
Nope,
and I think suicide is a very important topic. For those of you that are triggered by that, we'll make sure to put a trigger warning on here. But I think suicide is something that is misunderstood. I think oftentimes, this is my opinion, I'd love to know yours. People say, oh, it's selfish. And it's like, no, these people are really struggling. They're sick. It's not so, they can't, there's something off. in their brain, right?
Yeah.
And I went through severe depression last year, anxiety and depression. It was the second year after my husband passed, in which every widow will tell you the second year is the hardest. But I totally empathize, whatever, with people who struggle with mental health, because I've been there.
Yeah. Same.
Right?
Yeah. In fact, one of my first emotions after learning that my brother had taken his own life was anger that option was now off the table for me, because it's something
Wow.
I had not always thought about. But before we came on air, we were talking, like, I have it all. I had terrible OCD as a kid and had to be medicated. I had lots of like tics and facial grimaces and stuff, and ADHD and terrible anxiety. And I've just had to learn to live with it, And I'm a studier, word smart. And so I read a lot of things about it. And I came to the epiphany just probably this last year, and I go to therapy, that, this isn't like the flu that you get over. Like, if I live to be 97 like my mom, I'll still have this. I'll still be this same jittery, hypervigilant person. So I better make friends with it as opposed to just fighting it all the time. And and something called anhedonia, which is basically, I'm not going to kill myself, but I kind of don't care if I don't wake up tomorrow. And a lot of people suffer from that. And I certainly suffered from that and still do sometimes. It doesn't take much to tip my life, having all the anxiety already, where I'm looking for ghosts behind every tree. And every now and then there's a real ghost. And then you're just like, oh, holy crap. And so, yeah, I do a lot of work with suicide prevention.
I love that.
But yeah, like when my brother did it, my dad died in March of 2002. And like I said, they had become best friends. And we're standing at his casket, and my brother, who had talked about suicide often, who was former military and a big gun guy,
Had previously talked about suicide.
yeah,
Okay.
in a threatening way, not in a looking for help way.
Right.
But standing at his casket, my brother said, well, I'm just going to go home to Tucson, walk into the desert, and eat a bullet at my dad's casket. And I said, Keith, like, come, we're at Dad's funeral, right? And then a few months later, Christmas Eve, he did it. And yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was rough. The last thing I said to him, about a week before that, maybe 2 weeks, he was using pretty heavy drugs because he had decided, well, this is it. And he was on disability, so he didn't have a lot of money. And I didn't have a lot of money because my career had just started. I literally took my first radio job for free. They didn't pay me. And this is 2002. And I signed my first big contract about 2 months after he passed away. And so he and I are both musicians, and he was selling me these guitars I didn't have money for. And but I bought them, trying to help him out, and I sent him a cashier's check. And he called me because it didn't arrive at 10 a.m. or whatever, and was just going off on me. And the last words I said to my brother were, Keith, I need these guitars like I need a hole in my head. Yeah. And then a week later, he shot himself.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it's a lot
so
to be
hard
left
wrestle
with.
Yeah.
And then I signed a big contract. And it's not that money solves everything, but I could have helped him.
Yeah.
I probably could have paid for him to be in an apartment.
Right. It's a tool.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and then you just wonder,
Yeah, of course.
And interestingly, we found he was such a loner, never married, never had kids, didn't know much about his life. But he had a girlfriend at the time. And my sister found her and talked to her. And, my brother was a very moody person, kind of dark. And she said the 3 days before he took his own life, he was euphoric. He was so happy. And I think he had made the decision. And so he knew that, I only have 3 more days. I'm not going to worry about anything. So yeah, that's what happened. And he lived right next to the desert in Tucson, and he walked, he parked there, walked a mile into the Saguaro National Forest, and shot himself. And I just knew it. I just knew it
You
had a feeling.
Totally.
And then the park rangers called, said they had found his car. And then a really strange thing, like we're talking about religion and what life means. And I'm an agnostic, but I'm very open-minded because I always say, I don't know how a toaster works. I know how to make toast, but I don't know how it works. So who am I to tell you who God is?
Right.
How ridiculous is that? I can't build a toaster. Yet I'm going to tell you who God is and isn't. So I'm very open to things. But I had a psychic who used to do my show back then, and he called me having no idea and said, "Do you want to know where your brother is?"
No.
Yeah. And I was with my family, and they had found his car. So we knew something was up. And he said he's in the desert and he's covered in snow and he has a flashlight next to him. And that's exactly how they found him.
You are kidding me.
So that was very strange. It's a very strange part of it. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's exactly how they found him. Yeah.
Isn't that wild? Well, I am so sorry.
Thank you.
To hear that, and mental health is health. It is health. Just like you hurt your leg, you hurt your arm.
Yeah.
You and I both were a little vulnerable before the show and talked about our struggles. And everybody goes through it. And so anybody that is considering suicide, thinking about it, please know that you're brought here for a reason. You do have a purpose. There is help out there. There's lots of different things you can do. Again, I am a believer and faith is a huge part of my life and has been for a long time. But there are things you can do. There's a crisis line. I think 988 is the number. And there's lots of help out there.
Yeah.
So anybody that's thinking about it, contemplating it, please reach out. Let somebody know. Do not suffer in silence.
Yeah. And even before you get to that point,
Yes.
right? It's like having something on your skin that might be skin cancer and you put it off for 3 years. It's like as soon as you start, and people are smart. People who are listening to this, they're smart.
Yeah.
They understand. They know where they're at. And if maybe you haven't said it to your spouse, maybe you haven't said it to your clergy or whoever you confide in, but you know that you're struggling. You know you're kind of spiraling. That's when reach out.
Yes,
do
any
something.
intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. A lot of us have been there.
Yeah.
If you open up about it,
It's survivable.
almost everybody.
Yeah.
I was like, well, it's crossed my mind.
And life has always been this way. Even before social media, I used to say that we watch everyone else's highlight reel while we're living our own blooper reel. And I remember I was pretty successful and had a #1 show and getting paid a lot of money.
Great family.
Yeah. But I would go out with others and I would just be like, oh, they're just crushing it. They belong to this country club or they this, or they have a vacation home and what am I doing and blah, blah, blah. And then you find out later that, there was terrible trouble in the marriage or, like everyone has stuff.
Everybody.
And now with social media, which I don't have, thank God, we're all just, as my dad would say, we're just showing our ass to each other. We're just showing off, and most of it's fake.
Right.
And if it's not completely fake, like, oh, I was on this private jet I really wasn't on, it's just so exaggerated.
Right.
And I get it. I'm a human too. I understand it. I can do the same thing. I can be very performative, but I try not to be. It's like this. We're doing this hoping that this has some positive effect on someone.
Yes.
But the other side of that coin is we need to think more about the things we say that have a negative effect on someone.
Yeah.
And if we're just, showing off constantly, no one watches you show off and goes, wow, you're cool. No, they can't stand you.
Right.
So it's like a double lose.
It is. And, I think authenticity is really important. And you're right, in the social media world, I do have a social media account. I am on there. And it's how we got Kyle's treatment into him. I mean, it can definitely be used for good. But I, like you, try to be completely authentic. Like, my life is not perfect.
Yeah.
And, what you see now is not what there's a lot to it. If you peel back the layers, and everybody is everybody has something, everybody has a journey and a story. And, but I'm like you sometimes, especially like families, I'm like, oh, like the husband and the wife and the children are all on vacation and they have a white picket fence. And that was supposed to be my life.
Right.
That's how we planned it.
Yeah.
And it all looked great until he got stage 4 cancer.
Yeah.
Not in the cards.
No.
Right? So you never know. And so
I started, kind of a quick story about when my mom passed. So she was at Bethesda, Dilworth for about 4 or 5 months on hospice care. And, you can kind of tell it's getting close. And we were there all the time. And the day before she passed, someone came to me and said, hey, you need to go home and rest. We have this small group of volunteers called NODA, No One Dies Alone. And what they do is they're going to take 2-hour shifts and spend the entire night with your mom so that she doesn't die alone. And I was like, what?
That's amazing.
That's crazy. Who would do that? And so I went to the vending machines, bought a bunch of honey buns and stuff like for the people who are going to spend the night.
So sweet.
And then sure enough, she passed away that night at 3:30 in the morning with one of the volunteers. And he wrote me this beautiful page of here's how she was. And I was playing music for her and so forth. So I decided pretty quick that I needed to become one of these volunteers to honor my mom. And I did. So it's really extensive training. And I've been doing it for about 1.5 years now.
Really?
Yeah. And so what you do, you can do anything you want, but you have a couple of hospice patients who are not emergently dying, who you just visit
at their home or at like
usually the facility.
Okay.
And then we'll get a text to the team that'll say, hey, we've had a request for a NODA vigil, and you just sign up. And then you go in, and they're really good about accommodating my schedule since I do the radio show, and I usually do like 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And so, a couple dozen times now I've just sat with people who are dying.
Wow.
And it's probably the most impactful thing I've ever done. And I've told the story before, like 26 years in radio, I've done, I don't know, hundreds of events and hosted and emceed. And I get a lot of credit for being philanthropic and raising money.
Love that.
And it's always bothered me because it's not that hard. Like I show up, I tell a couple jokes, I eat a free chicken breast, I go home. And this is uncomfortable for me. Being around people, dead bodies, being around people who are dying, being around people who look weird, who sound weird. That's not my thing. I'm not natural at that. And so I felt kind of selfishly, ironically, that this would be credit that I could be proud of because I'm doing something outside my comfort zone that's impactful. But the very first time I sat was with a gentleman named Roy, and I walked into the room, and there he is, and he's dying, and he looks like he's dying. And then something clicked in my brain. And the caregiver took over. And then for the next 2 hours, they give you a little dossier. And he loved the mountains. I love the mountains. He loves the Beatles. I love the Beatles. So I was playing him the Beatles off this little speaker. And I would notice that on certain songs, he would smile. And then one of my fellow volunteers came in, and we were kind of talking quietly. And I was making her laugh. And he started laughing. Yeah. And it was just like, this is the greatest,
beautiful.
The greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
So that's been my latest journey.
I love that.
In service to others and myself.
Yeah.
But it's been remarkable. And the best part of it is people picked up on this story, and a couple articles were written. Mike Bush did Making a Difference segment with me, and we added like 120 volunteers.
Awesome.
Yeah. And a hospital group in Denver heard about it, and they started a program.
I love that.
And like you said, you never know.
You don't.
When your brother's going to take his own life, your husband's going to be diagnosed, and you never know when something's going to come up. It's going to be really great.
Yes.
And something to grow from something so terrible.
Yes. Turning pain into purpose. Yeah. And truly, I believe we're all connected. Like, I believe I mean, we are, right? We're all brought to this earth, and I think we're all interconnected, and we all have a purpose, and you know, we all fight to be healthy and happy, and really helping others. Like, that's what God, whatever you believe in, wants us to do.
Yeah, since I don't have a religion, this is going to sound very something, but kindness has become my religion. And it's not that I'm especially kind, I'm just especially cognizant of it. And I mean, anyone out there who's heard my show, I can be very snarky and, you know, make fun of people and, oh, how about this story or that story? But I try very hard on a personal level when you meet someone to like just leave them happy.
Yes.
There's no need to have road rage. There's no need to be a jerk to someone.
Right.
You don't know what they're going through.
Everybody's going through something.
Yeah.
And truly, if you're happy with yourself, right, and you've kind of worked out your demons and are working through your mental health, like people that are angry, I always look at them and I'm so sorry. There's got to be something in their life
Sure.
that they're battling.
Yeah.
Because everyone is battling something.
Yeah.
Right. So you mentioned briefly you struggle with mental health. How do you manage that? Do you exercise, eat well? How do you manage that and continue to live fully?
So I've done a lot of therapy, and that was very helpful. But I got to the point where my therapist said, look, we can keep getting together once a week, but I think you got your arms around this. And so I stopped doing it a year or two ago. I use medication. I have a couple different things for anxiety that I take, and that helps. Was never, even though I'm a lifelong musician, I was never much of a pot guy. But a couple years ago, I started eating pot gummies at night sometimes, and that helped immensely. It just... You know, I don't know how anyone else, what you feel like in your body, but when I take one of my medications or eat a pot gummy, I don't get high. I just get what I think most people would call normal, you know?
Yeah.
It takes me from that state of heightened looking for
Fight or
ghosts.
flight. Yep.
Yeah. To, I'm just going to watch baseball now.
And chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I wish I could take credit and say I do all the healthy things and I exercise all the time and I eat right, but I don't. It's just, you know, I'm 5'10". I'm not 6'4". I don't have hair. I also don't have cancer. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like,
Right.
this is my,
Thank God.
This is my package.
Right.
This is what I'm working
This
with.
is the hand you've been dealt.
Yeah, and it's the same thing inside your head.
Yes.
Just 3 pounds of electric meat inside your skull.
Right.
But like you said, the fact, like if you had a broken arm, I could see it and I could hear the story and commiserate. But I'm not going to meet you and go like, what's going on in your head?
Right.
How you feeling?
Right.
And that's 90% of the battle.
It really is.
Yeah.
Like I said, mental health is health, just like
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah.
So my business is called The Essentials by Kira. And the whole why I started that business was before Kyle got sick. I lived in Northern California and got into marathoning and triathlons and living a healthy life. And I wanted to share that with others. So I really believe that if we all eat well, and it's the 80-20 rule, but eat foods that God created from the ground, animals that were created, drink water, got some sunlight, got good sleep, limited our sugar and alcohol, I think it could help minimize and eliminate a lot of issues.
I think you're absolutely right.
I think I also am a believer in medicine if you need it. It's helped me along my way, for sure. I'm not afraid to talk about it.
Yeah.
I think it's a tool that can be really, really helpful.
Yeah.
But I think those essentials really need to be the foundation. And then alternative things can come into play, right? I'm not preaching on you or shooting on you. I really truly believe that. And it's I think a lot more people struggle with it and don't talk about it. And I think they numb with alcohol.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Are you a drinker?
No, I mean, I'm not sober.
Right.
But I bet I haven't been drunk in 10 years.
Yeah.
I bet I had 3 drinks all last year.
Right.
It just,
Right.
Yeah, you go through phases.
Right.
And this last several years for me, I just haven't had a lot of opportunity to drink or a lot of desire to drink.
Right.
But I have alcoholism around me. I've swam in that water. My son, Nick, who's 31, got sober about 5 years ago.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so that was, and I would never wish that on anyone, but it was also kind of beautiful to see how he handled it.
Yeah.
And he'll be handling it the rest of his life. He's only 31 years old. He's got a long way to go. But yeah, he called me one night on a Tuesday and said, I need help. And I went to his apartment. And the next day we checked him into Harris House and he did his 28 days and he's been sober ever since.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's great to see it work.
Yes.
Because it so often doesn't.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, alcoholism is a disease.
It's a disease.
And I have alcoholism in my family as well, so I'm pretty well versed on that. There are a lot of people, I think, that struggle with it, like a lot. I joke in St. Louis because Anheuser-Busch is here.
Yeah.
I went to school at Missouri State randomly, by the way, as well, which I loved. So many awesome people. But I joke that they put Budweiser in baby bottles around here because everybody drinks, right?
Yeah.
It's just a way of life around here.
Yeah.
But I think that that's something, a lot of people are becoming sober curious, which I'm super pumped about. And again, I'm always like, a little bit's okay. A lot is not.
Yeah.
But I met with somebody the other day and was talking with him. He stopped drinking about 6 months ago, just didn't want to put that in his body. And so I grew up my 20s in Northern California, loved wine, had a blast. And then the moment my husband was diagnosed, I was like, I can't be putting this depressant in my body anymore. My husband is dying of a GI cancer. Alcohol is toxic. It does not help anything. And it also feeds cancer. It does. But we were looking up the stats. So to be considered an alcoholic, for women, it's more than 8 drinks a week. For men, it's more than 15.
Yeah.
And that's like the legal pour, the actual pours and one beer or one, so it's interesting. That is, that disease runs wild and it's generational and it's just, but I think people are kind of wising up to it a little bit.
Yeah. There seems to be, with, my daughter's 21, so she's right in the belly of that beast.
Right.
And it's now cool to not drink.
I know.
Whereas the whole time we were growing up, it was not you
Everybody. Everybody did.
Like, what do you mean you don't drink? What are you talking
All
about?
our parents did.
Yeah.
Our friends did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I had a kind of a weird upbringing. My little town was just fueled by alcohol. It was just like, classic little town, no fences, no dogs on chains. Everyone went everywhere they wanted to go. And every night, like during the summer, everyone was drunk. But my mom and dad never drank. Oh. And they weren't sober. They just didn't like it, I guess. So that was kind of, like everyone else's parents were wasted. But that's one thing I always give my mom and dad credit for.
Awesome.
Is I didn't have to worry about that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about your radio show.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so tell us when it's on the station, what it's about.
Yeah, so it's on KMOX, which for 100 years was on 11:20 a.m., still is. But a couple years ago, we also picked up an FM signal, 104.1 FM, so you can hear it on FM now. You can also listen to the app on Odyssey. And it's 1 p.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. And it's me and Kevin Wheeler, who's a 30-year sports guy, who's incredibly smart, and Rachel Zimmerman, who's been with me for 10 years. And she's a lovely young woman who is brilliant and insightful. And then Andrew, who's my producer, who's the weirdest human I've ever met and just has nothing but funny stories. And it's been called like the Seinfeld of radio, which is kind of tired now. But I don't plan it. I prepare for it, but there's no script. Like when I go in at 1 p.m. today, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. It's 4 hours of organic improv between 4 people and the audience. And, some days are genius and some days are crap. But that's the way. I think that's one of the ways you can judge authenticity. Are they using backing tracks? Are they using auto tune? Well, probably if it's perfect, because real stuff that comes from your gut isn't perfect.
Correct.
Yeah, you listen to the old Beatles recordings and Rolling Stones, and you hear the mistakes. That's beautiful.
I think people crave that.
Yeah, I think so too, especially in this world of
Agreed.
AI and
I know.
Perfection, and
Right.
no one's aging anymore, right?
Right.
So yeah, I think people crave it. I really do.
Awesome.
So that's my show. It's a lot of funny, a little bit politics, a little bit religion, a little bit philosophy, a little bit stupid stories, and it's like hanging out with friends.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then you have a podcast.
Well, I don't have a freestanding podcast.
Oh, okay.
They take my show, they cut it up, they put it out in podcast form, and it does really, really well. It gets millions of downloads all over the country. I'm huge in Denver. I don't know why, but yeah, it's been great. It's been really great.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a job. Today I'd rather not do it. I'd rather do something else. But given the choices of things you can do for a job, I'm good. Yeah. I'll stick with this.
Awesome. And then can you direct people if they want to volunteer at the hospice?
Yes, absolutely. So I work exclusively with Bethesda. I think other hospital groups have their own groups. But at Bethesda, just go to BethesdaHealth.org and you can find your way through it. You can even just do the contact us button and say, hey, I'm interested in No One Dies Alone. And yeah, they went from 15 volunteers to 120, 130. A bunch of WashU kids.
Love that.
Yeah, a lot of people my age and older, a lot of them who lost spouses and have a heart for it. And then a whole bunch of 19 and 20-year-old WashU kids.
Awesome.
Isn't that great?
It's amazing.
Yeah, and a couple of them had the most. One of them was there literally every day of the summer last summer. Every day, visiting people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just think of, are a lot of these people on hospice often aren't speaking? Yeah.
When we get called in for a vigil, it's typically they are unconscious and they're, most of the time they're pretty peaceful, but every now and then like their breathing can be ragged and they can be reaching out to people and things like that. My mom did that.
Yeah. Kyle did that as well.
Yeah. But then it's just, as someone who would have never thought they could do this, I'm telling you all, there's a place in your brain, there's a place in your soul that when you put yourself in this situation, I think you'll find that a part of you opens up that you were unaware of before. Really does. It's like instantly being able to dunk a basketball or something. You're like, wow, I didn't know I had this. I didn't know that I could sit in the final 2 hours of someone's life who I've never met. What a privilege. Like this person's lived 80, 90 years and had all these adventures and all these successes and failures and marriages and kids and laughs and tears. And I get to spend the last couple of their hours with them.
What a gift.
What a gift.
And now these are people that don't have family oftentimes?
Yeah, a lot of times they have no one. But then other times it's like my mom's situation where she has a family,
right,
but they're not going to be there overnight.
Can't be there 24 hours a day.
Yeah. And now the thought of someone dying alone, which happens, it's happening right now. It happens thousands and thousands of times every day. But the thought of that now is so terrible to me, knowing that you don't have to.
With what you've been through and seen, and what a blessing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So if anybody's interested, please
BethesdaHealth.org.
Look up this organization. It's one last thing I was going to say. Have you been following Ben Sass and his interviews?
I have.
The senator out of Nebraska.
Yes.
Who has stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and he has the new drug, daraxonrasib, that everyone's excited about, that's extending life. I listened to his 60-minute interview finally, because a lot of people have sent it to me last night. And something he said, either that or the CNN interview, it doesn't matter, that really struck me was if we could have people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s talking with our younger generation, if we could connect that and share stories and I thought about that. I'm like, it's so true, because we're growing up in a way different world.
Yeah.
and the knowledge and wisdom and kids think they have it all figured out. Yeah. Well, guess what? You don't, right?
Yeah.
It takes a little life to figure it out.
Yeah, it's something that I marvel at. We keep figuring out the same things lifetime after lifetime. And the kind of things that if I were on my deathbed that I would impart to my kids are the same things that Confucius said, the same thing that Jesus said, the same thing that Zoroaster said. We've been doing this for thousands and thousands of years. And most of us get to the end and we go, I learned a couple things.
Right.
Let me tell you
what I should have done.
And then the people you try to tell who are 15 years old, 25 years old, they're like, yeah, thanks. But we for some reason, humans typically don't learn unless we learn through our own mistakes.
Right. Which we will. And we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have terrible regrets.
Yeah. I've got
You
some
don't
decisions
expect that, right? You don't expect to be that person. Good and bad.
But everybody has regrets.
Yes.
Okay, so what's next for you? What are you?
Good question.
Yeah.
What I do is too easy and too fun, and they pay me too much to retire. I can't imagine what I would do. I'm a person with lots of hobbies and passions and interest, but I just plan on doing this until I physically can't, or until the audience says we've had enough. I play in a band. I do stand-up comedy. I talk with my friends 4 hours a day and get paid for it. It's pretty great.
Pretty good gig.
It's a pretty good gig.
Awesome.
Yeah, I recommend it.
Awesome. Well, I always ask my guest at the end of every show to tell our viewers maybe one thing that you want them to take away from our show today.
So at my age, every age has like a marker, like, oh yeah, when I was this age, I had that. And I have found at 61, I'm old enough to clock my past and put it on the ledger sheet and be pretty honest about it. And like we just talked about, and having lots of regrets. But I'm young enough to make some amends. I'm young enough to still have real life, not that if you're 85, you don't, but 85 is different than 61. And I would just remind people that this does come to an end, whether we meet Jesus or we become worm food or whatever it is. I truly think that none of us can really grasp that. Like, I'm saying this, and as I'm saying it, there's a big part of my brain going, yeah, except for us, though. Like, we're not going to die, because we just all have that. And I think be honest with yourself, and then the next step is to be honest with someone else who you can be accountable to. It doesn't always get better. Like, people always say, like, it gets better. Sometimes it doesn't. But it's always possible.
Right.
And most things are survivable. I've had things I didn't think were survivable. They were.
Yeah.
So I just be honest with yourself, be honest with someone else, be kind.
I love that.
Pretty straightforward stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't complicate it. It's complicated enough.
Yeah.
This game we're playing is
complicated. Isn't that the truth?
Complicated.
It is.
Yeah.
Wow. Dave, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was an honor having you.
Yeah, I loved it.
Thank you for being so vulnerable and honest. And I look forward to continuing to work with you, and maybe we can move some mountains together in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So awesome. Well, thank you to all of those who have listened today. I'll be back next week, 10 a.m. with the Yes We Can podcast.
What if you could start your day feeling loose, relaxed, and ready? Deep hydrotherapy right in your backyard. Relax with your family or friends, or work out with our Michael Phelps Edition Swim Spas. Worried about maintenance? We have factory-trained service nearby whenever you need it. Plus, we're here for you long-term if you have any questions or need to refill supplies. You can even test spas at our showrooms. Spas and More, A+ rated, locally owned for 20 years. We put the in spa.